Stop!
Hi, welcome back to Behind the Lines. I'm Lynn Saternow. This is my co-host, Bob Greenburg. Bob, you all recovered from that Steelers loss?
Yes, that's what Monday nights are for.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you get it out of your system on your show.
Yeah, you and I fight for about a half hour over it, and then we feel good after the show's over.
Yeah. Hey, my Browns are doing okay, though.
Browns are playing better. There's no question about it.
Yeah, too bad they didn't get a start earlier in the year, with the new coach. They might have made the playoffs.
Definitely better days ahead for the Browns.
Yeah. But most of all, this is a big time for high school sports right here in Mercer County. We have 3 local teams still in the state playoffs going into the semifinals this coming weekend. High school basketball, wrestling, and other winter sports are all gearing up to get started, which makes it kind of tough on the basketball teams with the football players still going on.
Well, especially like a team like Wilmington, I think, has 10 basketball players on their football team right now. So good luck to the Wilmington basketball program. They will be behind, and I know Sharon has a bunch of players. Farrell has a bunch of players as well, and that is one of the. I think if the PIAA could make one change, if they had the ability to do it, Lynn, would be to find a way to end the football season before the basketball season starts.
I agree. I talked to Coach Bobby Stewart the other day from Farrell, and he said he had to cancel one of his scrimmages. He only has 8 kids. That's a shame.
But this is a new era, and there's football playoffs into December, and teams will adjust and do what they have to do. But it's still definitely a challenge for the winter sports teams when your football programs are having this much success.
Now, the only good thing is at the end of the year, almost everybody makes the playoffs.
That is true.
Not like the old days.
That is true, and that from that aspect, and a lot of league games don't start till in middle or later in December. But still, it does make it tough.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at the football playoffs. Sharon. They've been like a Cinderella team in the playoffs. They won their 2nd District 10 title. Last week, they looked pretty good in beating a solid Bald Eagle area team, 28-7. It seems like Coach Wildman and his staff have this team peaking at the right time. What do you think?
It's been an amazing story. You think about last year and this year, almost mirror images of what the Sharon Tigers have done. 4-3 in the middle part of the season, losing a couple tough games. Really didn't know which direction Sharon was going to go. And last year, like this year, they've won 6 games in a row. They won a District 10 championship, and now they find themselves 1 game away from playing for a state title. So give credit to the coaches for sure. The Sharon senior class has a lot to be credited as well, because there's no doubt this group kind of rallied around each other after that Grove City loss, back in October. And the team has turned the tables, and now they have, I think, a legitimate chance to make that trip to Hershey.
Yeah, I think they're pretty solid. But, last week, Jordan Wilson again was the workhorse. Ran for 171 yards, 2 touchdowns. Lane Voidig ran for 1 touchdown and tossed a touchdown pass to C.J. Parchman. This team's really coming into its own. After the game, Herald Assistant Sports Editor Ed Farrell caught up with Coach Jim Wildman and a couple of the players. Let's hear what they had to say.
We tackled better, we covered better, and again, the key for us offensively is as the O-line goes, we go.
On Wilson's 2nd touchdown, the 54-yard, did you catch them in a blitz?
Yes, we had looked at number, I believe it was 55, was liking to blitz from the opposite side, so we hit the other side.
I thought the way the ball game started with them deferring to you and you marching down and scoring, I thought that was big.
That was big. I mean, the plan was we were going to defer if we won the toss, but it's nice to get that ball to start the second half, but our kids made a bad into a good.
I thought your pass defense was excellent. I think
yes, especially in the second half. In the first half, we were dropping too deep. Our linebackers letting them catch it underneath us. But other than that, you know, our kids played well.
The change-up your club made a couple weeks ago, schematically on offense, giving Jordan Wilson more carries, it seems like it's made to order for November football in Western Pennsylvania.
I think so. I think so.
How's it feel to be in the state semifinals?
Oh, geez, it feels great. I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's hard to imagine a year ago at this time we were doing the same thing. But I mean, it's a credit to our coaches and our kids. You know, that we knew this is what we wanted to do, and certainly there were some big stones along the way that we tripped over, and we had our doubts whether we could get back to here. But perseverance certainly is a key here.
You enjoying it more the second time around, so to speak?
Yeah, I'm a little bit more mellow.
You, mellow?
Yeah.
Great.
Talk about that mid-season.
Well, the first half they were getting under us. Second half we made adjustments, and this was the outcome for us.
What was the adjustment you made at the half?
Oh, our outside linebackers have to get under the flats. As you can see, I got 2 of them.
I was talking to Volpe. He said seniors just don't want to see their careers come to an end.
Nah.
Talk about that for a minute.
Well, as a junior, I know how it feels to like be so close and not get it. So as a senior, it's time to step up.
What was it like last year as opposed to this year? Was it painful? I'm assuming painful last year, losing that last game.
Yeah, it was painful last year. We just sitting on that feeling from last year. We got to punch one more, and then we punch the ticket.
Can the Tigers take it another step or two?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Thanks to Herald photographer Corey Beitnish for recording those interviews. You know, Sharon takes on Aliquippa this week. They won their 17th WPIAL championship, one of the top teams always in the WPIAL. They routed Derry 42-19. This is a matchup of the old Midwestern Athletic Conference that when Sharon and Aliquippa used to go at it, along with other teams from Farrell and Beaver Falls and Newcastle, Butler. What do you think, Bob? What about this game?
Well, a couple of tidbits here. I think first off, it's interesting because Aliquippa no longer has Mike Smianik on the sidelines. The longtime successful coach was not renewed this past year.
It was a little controversial.
A little controversial. Even talked to Jim Wildman on Monday, and he talked about how he had coached against Donya Nessa, who was the coach before Smianik, and now Mike Warfield will be the third coach he will have coached against at Aliquippa. Sharon and Aliquippa had some history in the state playoffs. A couple decades ago they played, and Sharon lost a really heartbreaker up at the Veterans Stadium. And this is an Aliquippa team that not only they won 17 WPIAL titles, Lynn, but they've been in the championship game now 11 years in a row.
Right.
Which is an amazing stat considering the talent and the teams down in that district, the amount of them. And got some skill, some big-time receivers, a lot of Division I players, and they throw the ball a lot more than we've ever used to see them throw the ball. This new coach brought in a more of a 21st century offense, and they definitely has paid dividends. They're playing as well as anybody right now.
Yeah, Mike Warfield took over as the head coach, and their quarterback, this Eli Kosanovic, last game he threw for 327 yards and 4 touchdowns. Of course, their all-everything receiver, Will Gibson, caught 7 of those passes for 165 yards and 3 TDs. And I think he's going to Pitt, isn't he?
He got an offer yesterday to Pitt. He hasn't committed yet. Devin Shires and other players got a bunch of Division I offers. These 2 wide receivers will be a significant challenge for the Sharon Tiger defense. There's no question about that.
You know, and these seniors on this team, like you said, they've played there 4 straight years at Heinz Field in this WPIAL championship, but they haven't won since 2015, their freshman year. So they're pretty hungry for this thing.
Yeah, you're right, and I think that's it's a new coach too. So like Brendan Fillion over at Wilmington, trying to to take the program to another level. Not that they had not had a lot of success up to this point, but there's got to be a lot of pressure on the Aliquippa coach replacing Smianik, all the controversy surrounded that. So give them credit for really kind of getting away and staying focused to get to this point.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a heck of a game. I'm really looking forward to that.
I think Sharon, talking to Jim Wildman on Monday night, one of the keys I think pretty clearly is being able to run the ball, to keep Aliquippa offense off the field, time of possession, kind of like they did against Mercyhurst Prep in some of these games in the playoffs. If Sharon has success running the ball early on, that will bode well. But defending this bevy of great wide receivers will be a real challenge for the Sharon Tiger defense.
And I think one of the keys too is the Sharon line has come into its own, leading the way for Jordan Wilson. That's the key. Up front, if they can move the ball, they can win this game.
I made the comment, I think there's probably been no unit in Mercer County that has improved as much from week 1 to now than the Sharon offensive line. We didn't know how good they were. There was a lot of talk about them, a lot of experience, but had not played well the first month or so, but definitely playing much better, and the record speaks for itself.
Yeah, up front we have Josh Torr, Dakota Burnett, Jordan Volpe, Aaron Almbaugh, and Dorian Jefferson. Pretty solid group. And
you throw in the tight end Frank Schaefer, who does a great job as well. And if they can get the holes, at least for Wilson early on, that will allow Lane Voidick some time. And maybe, if Sharon isn't passing, if they're passing on running downs and kind of mixing it up, I think that will really bode well for the Tigers. But if they're forced to pass, that may be a challenge for Sharon on Friday night or on Saturday afternoon.
Certainly, because Aliquippa has some speed and some great athletes on that squad. So it'll be one-on-one a lot of times on the outside for the wide receivers. We'll have to see how that goes.
And I know Sharon got to be very happy, their fans especially, knowing that they don't have to go back to Altoona.
Right. It's 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon in Slippery Rock.
And, of course, we'll have a game for you on the radio on both 790 WPIC and Sports Radio 96.7, so we'll have you covered if you can't make it.
Okay, Class 2A. Wilmington, they crushed Ridgeway, 56-14. Rob Pontius, 3 touchdowns. Cam Merritt, 2. Ethan Susan. Even the subs got into the scoring. Garrett Guth and Darren Miller, they both hit pay dirt during that game. Bob, you guys did that game.
We saw the Hounds, and unlike the week before where they had a game of their lives against Chestnut Ridge, surviving that incredible football game we saw at Slippery Rock, the Hounds came out like a team we're used to seeing. First off, they spread the ball out. The week before, Cam Merritt had 39 carries, which is, from all reports, could be the most ever in a single game in Wilmington history. But this past Saturday, they went back to their old style, spreading the offense out, getting a lot of touches for a lot of different players. Their offense and defensive line, which has been the strength of this team, dominated from the start. And really, by the end of the first quarter, you kind of felt like the game was over.
Yeah, I think that, like you talked about, that game that was so close, I think that woke them up a little bit when they barely got by Chestnut Ridge. I think they knew what they had to do, and they came out early and hard.
Well, there's no question, because you think about it, they had not been challenged since week 2 when they lost to Farrell. And that Farrell game, which we'll talk about, could go a long way to helping them this week. But they had not been challenged, had not gone into a second half where they had really played a lot. The one stat that I reported after the game was that, it's an amazing stat, that Brandon Fillion told me that his reserves have played 20 quarters this year. So you think about that. The second stringers have played almost 5 full games this year for Wilmington. That helps their future, and it tells you how much they've dominated.
Yeah, what's the same with Farrell?
Farrell's the same way,
half,
correct.
Pretty much all subs playing.
Correct.
And which is a good coaching strategy. I mean, it's good to get your kids in there, and you also keep your other kids healthy. You don't take any chances on them getting hurt. But, District 9, I heard there was complaints up there that they were running up the score when it was their subs beating the starters from Ridgeway.
Yeah, it was it's disappointing to say the least to have any type of negative commentary towards Brandon Fillion especially.
Right.
You can't find a better young man than this guy.
Great young coach, trained well, by not only his former coach Terry Varelli, but also his father-in-law Paul Piccarelli.
And at this point, all good teams, Lynn, as you well know, find ways to improve themselves. And when Wilmington had an opportunity to run their 2-minute offense on Saturday, which they had not done maybe once in about 2 months, a great coach takes that opportunity, and they did that. And anybody complaining about that really doesn't know the game of football.
Right. And Farrell did the same thing.
Call timeout.
Right before half.
Exactly.
Call timeout because you're still playing out there. You want those kids to be ready. If they have to do something in the late seconds, you want them to be able to do it and be used to it.
I'm sure you agree that, in my opinion, and this is basketball and football, I would say this for, that the first half is basically off limits for any complaints about anything.
That's exactly right.
And there's a mercy rule that gets put into place to help protect teams that are getting beat. But in the first half of any game, let alone a PIAA playoff game, is to criticize a coach for anything is as ridiculous as it gets.
Yeah. Now, if you have the starters in there late in the third quarter or in the fourth quarter when you're rolling up the score just to try to build up individual stats, that's baloney. That shouldn't happen. But like you say, first half, anything goes.
It's off limits. And so Wilmington, though, they have their hands full this week. They take on Steel Valley out of the WPIL. It's an amazing story, Lynn, which has been getting a lot of publicity the last few weeks, dressing only 17 players last week.
Right. Isn't that something?
That is unbelievable. And I think they started the year, I read, with 32 players, and a variety of reasons, injuries and players dropping off, that they're down to their final 17. As you can imagine, everybody plays both ways. Can't wait to talk to or find out how they have dealt with practices, because you don't have 22 players. How do you practice?
Well, you go against a band. I think that's the way it works. You know? Those clarinetists can be tough.
That could be true.
Yeah.
They won't face any band members on Wilmington's team. I guarantee that on Friday.
Right.
They have a great running game. Wilmington played them 2 years ago in the Western Finals. Wilmington got handled by them, but Coach Brendan Fillion told me on Monday that he hopes that experience of kind of seeing what Steel Valley is all about has helped them a little bit preparing for what they're going to see on Friday.
Plus, Wilmington won last year and moved on to state, so they know what it's like to be in this situation. You know, Steel Valley, they crushed Southside 48-6. You know, they have a two-headed rushing attack. This Cameron Williams and Todd Hill. Williams ran for 196 yards and he had 104 yards receiving. Hill had 118 yards rushing and 62 receiving. Each one had 3 touchdowns. They're pretty strong.
Yeah, almost 4,000 yards between the two this year, so big-time players there. I think an interesting quote, which I go back to the comment I made earlier about Wilmington playing Farrell. The Wilmington coaches went down to watch Steel Valley play a couple weeks ago, had a chance to see them play in person, and on the way home, the coaches all kind of talked, and they said, the only question we have to ask is, do you think Farrell would beat Steel Valley? And everyone said yes, we think they would, which has given Wilmington obviously a lot of hope, thinking they were very competitive against Farrell.
Right.
And if Farrell could beat Steel Valley, then Wilmington clearly has a chance as well.
Farrell could beat a lot of teams.
That is true.
And speaking of Farrell, you know, last weekend they mauled Coudersport 48-6. It was 48-0 in the first half, and then they had the subs in there the whole second half. Can anybody stop them? What do you think?
Well, this is the Mount Everest climb for Coach Jared Samuels. You know, he has never, as a head coach, beaten a WPIAA team in the playoffs. I think 0-6.
0-6.
So, you know, you think about that tremendous weight on his shoulders, but I think it's pretty safe to say this should be the year that streak comes to an end.
I would think so. You know, Christian Lewis, he went over 2,000 yards for the year. He had a 77-yard punt return. That thing was phenomenal when he went down the sidelines. Lewis and Jordan Townsend each had 3 touchdowns. Sub played the whole second half. Even though Cotty scored on the first play of scrimmage in the second half, the subs actually outplayed the first string for Cotty the rest of the way. They played great. You know, I talked with Jared Samuels, just like you said. He's taking his personal because he wants to beat a WPIAA team. You know, that's something that he hasn't done, and he says he wants to do it. You know, now this is the first title for Our Lady of Sacred Heart. And that's an interesting story there. You know, they beat Rochester 28-6. But that school started out as a school to produce nuns. And that's the way it started. Then it became an all-girls school.
Wow. And
so just, I forget, maybe 20 years ago, they started a boys basketball team and took boys in. And the football teams only played for about 4 years. I mean, I'm sorry, this past decade. But like 4 years ago, they didn't win a game.
They have had, and how about their coach? Dan Bradley, the head football coach for Our Lady of Sacred Heart. He is also the head basketball coach at Avonworth. So you think about what he's been doing this past week or so. He has been preparing his football team and also trying to get to his basketball practices to help his basketball team. I don't know if there's any coach anywhere in Pennsylvania that does both of those jobs, especially at the same time.
Yeah, especially for 2 different schools.
Exactly.
Yeah. And how about the basketball team probably practices at 1 o'clock in the morning so he can get things taken care of, you know. Yeah. His son is the quarterback.
Tyler Bradley, 6'4". Yeah, he's
Yep.
got big-time stats. Was just named to the Fab 22 team, which is rare for a single-way quarterback.
Right.
45 touchdown passes. And it's a unique matchup, I think, you know, talking to Coach Samuels a little bit on Monday, that this is a team that will spread Farrell out. They will throw the ball everywhere. They have a bunch of athletes. So it's an interesting matchup for Farrell. They have not really seen anybody like this down this road. So, you know, Farrell will have to kind of prepare a little bit more this week for defending as much of the pass as they will see on Friday night. But I think Farrell's line is, as we saw against Shade and even before, that will be the difference in this game.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I talked to a sports writer from the Coriopolis Record down there that covers this team, and He said their line is the key to their success, providing the blocking for Bradley at quarterback. And he said the only team that really beat them this year was Jeanette, and what they did was their line got through and caused some problems for Bradley. Now the Farrell, you can say what you want about Olsh's line, but when you come up against Farrell's line, which includes Gary Satterwhite III, Kobe Hilton, Deshaun Sims, Gary Hobson, and Melvin Hobson, the smallest guy is 278 pounds. That's the size of their biggest lineman.
Well, and I posted this the other day that Farrell's offensive line averages 6'2", 289 across the front. Olsh's defensive line, which has 5 players, averages 5'11", 198. So it's almost 100-pound difference per man, and that is a game changer in most levels of football. We'll see if it makes that big of a difference on Friday night.
Yeah, because their offensive line is not that big either.
Correct.
210, 240, somewhere in there. That's about the size of those kids. So even though they're touting that as their strength, they're going to find out what a big line's like when they play against Farrell.
No, knock on wood. This is the 4th year Farrell will play in the Western Finals, but the first time in 3 years that they will be completely healthy going into this game. Last year they didn't have Kai Wright. They had injuries 2 years ago before the championship game. I think Braxton Chapman may have been hurt, or a couple years ago he was hurt. So this is a team that feeling good about themselves. The light at the end of the tunnel now. This Farrell team's had that spotlight on them from day one, and this is their biggest game of the year. And we would expect, with all their experience and skill, that they're going to shine brightest coming up on Friday night. Yeah,
now their key running back is this Austin Wigley kid, who's pretty good. But they lost one of their other running backs, this Noah Capelong, to a broken ankle in the championship game. Now, while he didn't carry the ball that much, he's a starter on the defensive line, so that's going to hurt them.
Olsh is a team, by the way, that we saw. They knocked off West Middlesex in the PIAA basketball playoffs last year. So they definitely have some good athletes down there. They know how to compete at this level. Even though this is new experience for them on the football side, we know their basketball players know how to win. So this is going to be an interesting game. I think Farrell, this will be their toughest matchup since Wilmington, and but we'll see how Farrell responds.
It was interesting. I had a laugh when I was talking to that sports writer. He said that this coach down there, Bradley, he said he's a really good coach, but he's also a great recruiter, which of course brings up the public-private problems again, And he said a lot of the schools down there are very irritated about losing some of their kids to Olsh.
Well, the interesting story, which you bring it up, is Tyler Bradley, who is the son of the coach, was going to Avonworth, who, if you remember and you don't remember, the head coach at Avonworth is Duke Johncore, who is a former Grove City player, and Johncore's son was the quarterback for Avonworth. He was a very good quarterback as well. Bradley probably wouldn't have played at Avonworth if he stayed there.
Right.
But he goes to Olsh, and he's having a record-breaking season. Hey, there's rules in place. People complain about it all the time. If the schools sign off on it and the people in charge approve the transfer, in my opinion, what else can you do? I know people don't like it, but it's up to the schools to police themselves, and at this point, the transfer is legal.
And when your dad's named the head coach at that school, it's kind of hard to say a kid can't transfer to go be with his dad, even though they tried to stop it a couple places.
They have tried to stop that, but the PIAA overturned that.
Right. That game's going to be on what channels?
We have Wilmington game will be on Sports Radio 96.7 on Friday night with Ryan Briggs and Colton Hoffman, and then Farrell game will be on 790 WPIC with Mark and I. And we have those games online on our apps, so if you're out and about, you can definitely listen anywhere.
Yeah, even though we're finishing up with football here, we're looking forward also into basketball, wrestling, other winter sports. You had a chance last week to meet with some of the Kennedy people. Yeah,
Kennedy, you're aware they have a pretty good basketball team. They won
pretty good, that's saying it lightly.
3 state championships, and last week 3 of their standouts signed their college offers. Oscar Shoeboy signed to go to West Virginia. Mattia Kunzo signed to go to Toledo. And Maceo Austin signed to go to Duquesne University. And I had a chance to talk to Maceo about his decision. He has been a young man that has grown up in front of our eyes here in the Valley. A great young man who has got a brother. Jason was a fantastic player. And here's my discussion with Maceo Austin. You recognize this guy right here as Maceo Austin, and Maceo, congratulations. It's got to be a dream come true today for you to officially make it on the dotted line that you're going to college?
Definitely, it's been a dream of mine since I was young.
Just talk about the process. It's been a long-going process. I'm sure you've been talking to coaches. They've been talking to you for a long time. And how challenging was it to figure out what was the best fit for you?
It was a long process and something you dream about, but like once you go through it, like it's a lot, that happens. It can get annoying at sometimes, but it's just a dream come true. But throughout the process, just sticking with like coaches and then friends and family, they all keep you grounded and everything throughout it.
What separated Duquesne in your mind?
I just connected the most with the coaches and then the players, and then I just had a great relationship with them since the first day they started recruiting me. And even when I was hurt, they didn't miss any AAU games or anything. They were always there. So I mean, it wasn't an easy decision, but it was.
As you look at your career here in high school, how do you feel your game has improved?
A lot, from freshman year when I was sixth man all the way up to now. Just putting in countless hours over the off season and everything. Working out with Tom and then the other coaches and everything, and just got a lot better since my freshman year. What part of your game have you been working on the most? I've been working on, over the summer I worked on a lot of shooting and ball handling, because at the next level I'll play a combo guard, so definitely have to get my handle better and everything, so those are the two main things I've been working on.
How much time have you taken off, or do you take off during the year when it comes to basketball?
Not a lot. Pretty much in the gym every day, as many times as possible.
How many games did you play during, once Kennedy won their third state title, how many games did you play in the spring and summer? Off, just an estimate.
I'd say around 30. 40, something like that.
Makes it special to be with both Maceo and Oscar today. I'm sure it makes it even a better day for you.
Definitely, those are my guys.
As you look at the process itself, what was the worst part about it? What was the challenging part that maybe irritated you, if anything, at times? I know.
The hardest part, I'd say, is, once you make the decision, letting the other colleges know. You form, such a good relationship with all the coaching staff and everything, so to tell them no, it's really hard. So I'd say that's definitely the most challenging part.
Did Duquesne being relatively close also help, knowing that your friends and family could see you a lot?
I mean, that was just that was a plus to it. I mean, that really wasn't the deciding factor or anything, but that was it helped.
You got to be excited about your senior year. Is it a little bit exciting and a little bit sad knowing this is it?
Definitely, mixed emotions about it, but I'm excited, but yet again, I don't want to leave yet, but it has to happen. What's
the goal this year? I know you have you got to be excited about playing 6A and a whole new
definitely.
class.
So the goal is, of course, to win it all again, but me and the guys, we have in mind we don't want to lose at all this year, so we're gonna try to go undefeated. So hopefully we can. We play a lot of tough teams, but I think we can go.
Now you remember when I used to get on you about not really being a great dunker now. Isn't that funny now? Because you're a pretty good dunker now.
I'm pretty good at it.
Well, Maceo Austin, congratulations on the big day today. I know it's a big day for you and your family and your friends, and I know the community is very proud of you.
Appreciate it.
There you go. There's the shirt right there, Duquesne Dukes, Maceo Austin.
Well, nice job, Bob.
Nick.
Yeah, he's a good kid.
You know what?
All those kids are good kids.
You know what? And like Farrell this year in football, and even Reynolds in wrestling, Kennedy has the biggest spotlight on him this year. And they're playing 6A. It'll be another level up. Mercer County has not had a state champion in the highest level since Farrell did it back in '72. So it will be fun to watch to see how Kennedy's able to perform at the highest level in PA.
Yeah, and I think they can do it. But one of the great things is there's going to be some top national talent coming in to play them.
It's going to be a really good year. Not that I'm looking forward to football being over. I'm 2 more weeks, but basketball this year with the likes of Sharon and Hickory boys, and you got Wilmington and of course Kennedy's going to be very, very good. Grove City has a new coach, but I think they're going to be very competitive. I think boys basketball has a chance to be very special this year in Mercer County.
And this was a great time of year too. Besides, as we look forward to those sports, several other kids were signing college offers, letters of intent to go on
at all levels. And and I think one thing that we've learned, I know you learn now being a grandparent and a parent of athletes, and my kids going through it, that all levels are important. A lot of kids want to go to Division I, but Division II offers money. Division III offers financial aid. There's ways to get help, and if you want to play that sport at the next level, take your opportunity. It only comes around once.
And I'll tell you, people don't realize even Division III is tough. These athletes in college are good. Everybody thinks their kid's going to be a Division I athlete. Not going to happen that often.
No question. And I've seen it at all levels, and I know a lot of kids regret the opportunity of not playing sports at the next level, or they go too high and they don't play at all. But we've seen a lot of kids at a lot of different levels. We have a bunch of kids now. We should wish them best of luck that are playing now in the college football playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
We have a couple kids playing down at Mississippi Rock University. Zach Cirillo, a Hickory grad. Cam Patterson's on that team. Mississippi Rock's in the quarterfinals. We have Luke Henwood over at Mount Union. They're still playing. Spencer DeMetal at Duquesne. They're still playing. So it's pretty cool to see. Then you got Jake Scarton at Pitt, who will be playing in the ACC championship game this Saturday night. So it's pretty cool to see some of our kids going to that next level.
Yeah, it is. And hopefully, not only do they get to play in college, they get to build their future, get a degree, move on, because not too many kids are going to make the pros no matter what. When I go out to speak at to a banquet for midget football or something, I say, how many of you guys want to play in the pros someday? Almost every kid raises their hand. And I tell them, only 1 in 10,000 kids at this level are going to make it, so let's not get carried away. Get your education first. That's the important thing.
Well, you can just look back in our Mercer County over the last 30 years. Nolan Reimold's made it. We've had Marlon Jackson, Michael Archie, Lorenzo Stiles, Andre Coleman made it on the NFL level. Basketball, Jack Marin's the last guy that made it to the NBA.
Right. And
that's been 40 years ago. So no doubt, if you're special, you can get that far. We don't want you to stop dreaming.
Yeah.
But get your education first.
Now we've had some guys make pro basketball, but not the NBA.
Correct.
Which is a little different.
That is true. There's been John Reimold, Kyle Randall, among others, have been playing professionally, but
David Jackson,
not the NBA level.
Right. Well, thanks for checking in with us this week. If you have a chance, get out and root on our high school teams. I mean, they deserve it. They're great kids. They play hard. There'll be nothing better than to see all 3 of our teams make it down to Hershey.
It would be one of the more amazing days in the history of Mercer County sports if all 3 teams make it to Chocolate Town.
And I think they can do it. Good luck.